You're ready to get back into yoga. So you ordered the essentials, a non-slip mat, yoga blocks to keep balance, and an exercise ball. And you used your Bank of America Cash Rewards credit card, choosing to earn 3% cash back on online shopping or up to 5.25% as a preferred rewards member, which you put towards the cost for your most essential yoga gear, noise-canceling headphones. Apply for yours at bankofamerica.com/more rewarding. Copyright 2020 Bank of America Corporation. All right, let's welcome in our guest, Mayor Cantrell. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us. This is a real treat for us.
Thank you for having me. Proud to be here with you. Of course, what you represent, you yourself, your family, but of course the Pelicans, all that you've been through and how you're doing great. So thank you. In the midst of this pandemic, we stand ourselves up and have games and even have some fans in the stadium.
I got to be honest with you. Last night it got kind of loud. When Zion had that alley-oop dunk right at the end of the game, it almost for a second felt like a normal arena. It was that loud.
We were yelling at home, I have to say. We were yelling at home, and I know those who were in the arena were just so excited. So there's a lot of support that you have, that our team has, and I'm just going to keep lifting you up.
I got to say, and I've played in a bunch of different cities, and I've enjoyed the fans and the community in every city I've played. But there's something that's really special about New Orleans, and I certainly take a lot of pride in representing this city. You came to New Orleans in 1990 to attend college, and you said your soul found its home in New Orleans. And I think for anyone who's experienced New Orleans or has lived here for a period of time, there is this connection to your soul. What was it about New Orleans that connected specifically to your soul?
The spirit of the people, the courageousness, the resiliency, the culture of this city that is unlike any other in the United States of America. It's the most Afrocentric city, in this country, by way of its history. And I think it just, through the ancestors, through the culture, through the spirit, it just grabs you. And it's either you love it or you don't. But when you love it, it's in your soul. And no matter how, far away you get. And I understand your family's maybe back in Brooklyn, but they still love New Orleans. It's still there. And
they do.
They were celebrating even Mardi Gras like the kids so love to do, But it's how you, it gets in you. It gets in your skin. And it's really through the people and the way that the people of this city show love. They're not in it for, any glory, even whether they're on the street, they love to say, hey, baby, lift you up. And I think it's a part of the spirit that is what we need right now, not only going through a pandemic, but just with the social unrest in our country, kind of peeling it on back and being able to speak to the heart of the people and feeling that love and that connectivity, that connection is something that's so important.
Mayor Cantrell, was when you came here for college, was that the first time you visited the city, or had you been here before?
No, my first time was in 1988. And I was on a trip with my mother and my grandmother. We had gone to our family reunion in Texas. We were so close to Birmingham, which is my second home. My paternal family is Birmingham, Alabama. My little drawl, you still kind of hear. And so we went to Birmingham to visit my folks. And on the way back to LA, that I-10 takes you right there. And we stopped in New Orleans for about 6 hours. We did Bourbon Street, first time eating crawfish with, and also shrimp with heads on them. Met a guy named Chicken, and I'm like, oh, I want to come back to New Orleans. It's just the spirit and the soul of this city. And I was a sophomore in high school. And it was after that trip I started writing, a professor at Xavier. And, I told my family I'd applied to all these schools and I'd only applied to Xavier University of Louisiana. So St. Catherine Drexel, mother then was looking out for her baby, because I got accepted.
Did you have any idea back then that you would spend the better part of 3 decades in this place?
Not at all. But I knew when I was leaving, I knew that I wasn't going to go back to live in LA. I knew I would be in the South. I didn't want to go be in Alabama, but I didn't want to be far because that was a part of home as well. But New Orleans was somewhere that I could be, somewhere that I could see myself making a difference, not for fame, but just the love of the people. But the little things people just seem to appreciate. And it was this energy that just kept me grounded in community, focused on, and you could see even the hopes of people. You could feel the despair of people. You can see the stark differences of the haves and the have-nots. I lived on 3rd and St. Charles Avenue while I was in college. So I would go to the streetcar and then catch the RTA, Louisiana, and it dropped me off at school. And so I saw from on the streetcar, the folks, and then transitioning to the bus, the working class people. It was just, it was always stayed with me, but got me rooted in community, this community.
I want to jump right into something that's going on right now here in New Orleans. This is Mardi Gras week.
Yes.
Which normally is a big celebration with a lot of socializing. Over the last year, I'd imagine you've had to make some incredibly difficult decisions, putting your citizens' health first. This is a special week for not just for people in New Orleans, but all over Louisiana, all over the country that normally come down here for Mardi Gras. How difficult was that decision to shut down bars this week? And also just how difficult has it been to be the leader of a city here during this COVID crisis?
Well, I appreciate the question. And, you have to look out for people even when they don't want to look out for themselves or look out for one another, but you have to set the tone. And that was a very difficult decision to make a year ago, quite frankly, almost a year ago, with St. Patrick's Day, which is a huge deal, Super Sunday, Mardi Gras Indians, and having to say that, you can't mask, and also St. Patrick's Day wouldn't move forward. Took a lot of heat on that, but it was the right thing to do. And hindsight, we saved a lot of lives, lost many, 680. But it was projected that it would be thousands. So no doubt about it, saving lives. So here we are, Mardi Gras 2021, where we know a little bit more about this virus that we didn't really know a year ago. So not difficult at all making the decisions that I had to make here recently, because we've been here before. Lives have been lost. We've been stuck in this for over a year. So if we want to come out of it and not have it be another year, then we need to do the right thing. And it starts with me having to make those tough decisions. But when it comes to life, when it comes to how we want to get back to how we love and live, not hard to make at all.
When you make a decision like this, and it sounds like it was fairly easy to make, I would imagine that you're prepared for some form of backlash against that decision, be it from citizens, people looking to have a good time, but also local business owners who normally would need this week in terms of revenue.
No, absolutely. Again, we've been in this for a year. So the revenue streams that our business owners and our folks look forward to a year ago, it's just not an option right now, regardless. We're in a pandemic, So again, if we want to get back to where we know we will get to, we have to do what it takes right now. And if there's a light, the vaccines are a light at the end of the tunnel. But when it comes to, again, protecting this city, and it also speaks to this pandemic hit us hard. It hit us, we were at a deficit, disproportionately impacted by this virus, our community, majority African Americans, people, Black and brown, where we had health disparity gaps that existed pre-COVID, so we have to look at that. about how it has impacted our community, our cultural community. And we know more than we did. We know more today than we did then, and even we had on Mardi Gras last year, remember, it was even Kobe Bryant's memorial, his service. Large, again, no one knew. But the city of New Orleans was blamed as being a super spreader in the United States of America right after Mardi Gras.
With what we were talking about earlier with New Orleans and just how there's a level of connectivity and, socializing, even sort of compared to some cities in the rest of the country, as we look sort of towards the next 6 months or so, and knock on wood, the vaccines, we start getting the right number of vaccines into the city and we get to herd immunity or whatever we need to start to slowly open things up. How do you make people feel comfortable again? How do you make constituents who now, maybe you're not getting backlash and they trust your judgment on this? We want to get New Orleans back to a 2020 place. How does that happen?
Well, it happens, one, by demonstrating that progress is being made. So this city has been on the national stage, just beating back, and flattening the curve 3 times in a row. We have led the state of Louisiana. So the civic trust is there and it's being built every single day. You're always going to have those who are unhappy, but in the end, they'll be okay. So it's like you demonstrate this too shall pass, and we'll get back to what we love and how we love to do it. But you have a large portion of people in this city that are doing the right thing, that have gotten us to where we are now, to where you can have fans, in the arena. And that's not the case in many other places, but we've been leading in this. And I think if we continue on that path, then you bring people along, people come along. And so you can't let the naysayers lead you because you won't get anywhere.
I like that. I'm going to use that, actually. I want to take a step back real quick. And we're sitting here in 2021, and you're the mayor of New Orleans. But I think it'd be interesting for our listeners to get your story about how you ended up here. And from my understanding, it starts in your childhood. And you had a family, your mother, I believe, was a social worker, but you had a family who believed in community service and public service. What kind of influence, obviously, that had a huge one, but what kind of influence did that have you at a young age?
Well, at a young age, I grew up, I was in Los Angeles, and my mother was a social worker, but went from welfare to work. And it was when Carter was president, he put in social programs that gave people an opportunity, particularly in urban environments. But then in that environment, when things changed, the political landscape changed and crack cocaine hit the scene, it was like an eraser in my family. So I had to go live with my grandmother pretty much full time. My mom did as well, but when she was able to get back on her feet, you have to kind of go make a way, get the house, set it up while your kids are back. So I was with my grandmother and very involved in community, civically oriented. And so I would go to chamber meetings with her. And by the age of 13, I found myself secretary of the local chamber of commerce. So she was always, rooted in community, facing racial biases or discrimination or those systems head on. And I found my voice very early as I led on that chamber. And it was, doctors, lawyers, and Indian chiefs, were on the chamber, right? And I had no clue. But I brought up an issue about my school counselor that I didn't feel that she was meeting with Black students, preparing them for their prerequisites to go to college. And at this time, I was in the Valley. I was in Palmdale. And so I raised the issue at the chamber. And oh my goodness, I get back to the school the next day and she's waiting on me. She's going to rip me a new one, how I had embarrassed her and she got all these calls. But she started meeting with Black students. She made sure we knew our prerequisites, to take those classes. And a lot of my people, my friends, we went to college. But my folks in Alabama, it's again that Southern piece, that everybody had to go to college. That was your way out. My granddaddy had an 8th grade education, grandmother a little more educated, but it was like, that was it. That was Jim Crow South, the heart of the civil rights movement my people grew up in. And so in the South, it was like, you going. But I knew I was going. They built us up from within. Hey, you got to stand tall, and do the job, be civically focused and minded. And I applied to Xavier, and that's how I got to New Orleans.
Who gave you confidence, or what gave you confidence? Was it the experience at that age, or was it someone pushing you to do those things? I mean, that story you just told is remarkable, and I can't imagine there's many teenagers that would be willing to sort of take a stand and be that vocal at a local chamber of commerce meeting.
Well, it was many things that built me up from within. First, it started at home. With my maternal family, we had strong Black women. My grandmother's sister was appointed by LBJ to be the advisor of consumer affairs. That was a big deal in our family. I still have the little photo, like you would have Kennedy and MLK. I had my Aunt Autry, at the White House. But then also my paternal family in Birmingham, built you up from within. Hey, you're a Wilder. You stand tall, no matter what people say, you adversity, you know who you are. And then, of course, as on the journey and mentors and people you interact with and those relationships continue to build you up. And I was very, very spiritual, grounded. The church and faith is very important to me. And it was just multiple things, all of those things I lean on right now.
Do you sort of attribute the church and sort of what we're talking about now to your social skills? Because I always wondered this about a certain type of politician in general, mayors, people that are in the community rather than like the people in DC, where you're just constantly interfacing with people in a non-COVID world, you're constantly interfacing with people all the time, and you have to be able to get along with everybody from all walks of life in order to do your job.
Well, I think the church definitely had a big influence, but it was really how I was raised. I had, my maternal grandmother believed in science. She believed in evolution. My grandmother in Alabama, in Birmingham, it was AME, African Methodist. And then she turned Jehovah's Witness when I was about 11. So when I would go to Alabama, I would have to go in field service. I would have to knock on those doors. I would get doors slammed in my face. Then you go to the door and then you get one open and they invite you in and you have a little, read the watch time. So it's like I contribute the door slamming and the walking in the community to my faith. Absolutely. Because it teaches you that you have to know who you are. You got to stand in the midst of, and no matter, you may get the naysayers, but you always get the love too. And that's just, but it all goes back to being grounded and rooted in faith. Absolutely. For me.
When you got involved in the Broadmoor Improvement Association, from my understanding, you and your husband bought a home in Broadmoor, which is a neighborhood here in New Orleans, around 1999, 2000. And then you got involved in the association in 2003. Katrina was in 2005. And as someone who really didn't get to experience that, my rookie year, we played in Oklahoma City. That was 2007. I didn't really get to experience New Orleans and come here at all in those first few years after Katrina. What was the city like back then? What was those first couple years in terms of the recovery process?
Well, before Katrina, you could rent an apartment and pay $175, have your roommates. It was $375 a month or $500 a month. You could really make it on your own. I remember those days, even, in college and all. That was one of the reasons I stayed. I knew I could make it on my own, not asking anybody. And so in the post Katrina, I mean, things really have shifted. But it was also a horrible opportunity, right, to address some of the ills that plagued us pre-Katrina. So whether that was slumlords and blight and low-performing schools, mediocre libraries, and the like, but also an opportunity to build community. And in Broadmoor, that's what we did, because we had a green dot. There was this, old neighborhood shouldn't return, about 7 of us. And so we woke up one morning and a green dot was on our heads, like, hey, your neighborhood shouldn't come back. And then you start hearing the rumors like that, okay, well, maybe the good part of your neighborhood can come back, which was the higher economic, levels, more majority white, less slum, no blight, less rental. And I lived in the area that was the needs were the greatest, the slumlords, low performance school, blighted, all of that. And, but the community voted like, hey, it's all or nothing. And so we began it really allowed us to focus on those issues that folks weren't driven to pre-Katrina. And I have to give you an example. I got involved in our public school in my neighborhood, Wilson School, right before Katrina hit. Now, school was about to start. I had hosted this luncheon for teachers saying, thank you for teaching our kids in our community. I tried to raise money, to pull off this luncheon. Got very little support. Had to pay for it damn near by myself. But post-Katrina, a whole community galvanized to rebuild that school that was one of the first to be rebuilt in the city of New Orleans. And we led the charge on how the state would determine which schools would be rebuilt. So it just got my example is, while we weren't all as connected as we could have been in that post-Katrina environment, it built community as well. And it was from the people of this city, the resiliency of our people and the diversity of our folks that got us through. And then we ended up leading the city in recovery because we were that example. So the strong need the weak needs the strong. And that's what it taught me in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, because I was living in that area where we bought our home, where the needs were so great.
My understanding is this rebuilding process for you was essentially a full-time job.
It was, yeah. I was a manager of a local education fund that I worked pre-Katrina and post. And then I did community organizing full-time. And then right around 2010, I left my full-time job and I did Broadmoor full-time. But that's what it was. It was boots on the ground. I lived in the Marriott Hotel for about 6 months. My husband stayed in Houston. I'm like, oh no, you got to be boots on the ground. He would come in every 3 weeks with our little dog. But that's what it really took, that type of dedication and commitment. And I was not by myself. I wasn't alone. The community was right there.
You finally decided to learn how to ice skate. So you ordered the essentials every ice skater needs: a pair of blades, a new helmet, and a good set of knee pads. And you used your Bank of America Cash Rewards credit card, choosing to earn 3% cash back on online shopping. Rewards that you put towards the cost of an essential piece of post-skating recovery: a heating pad. Visit bankofamerica.com/more rewarding to apply now. Copyright 2020 Bank of America Corporation.
Do you have any advice on, this is kind of a broad question, but do you have any advice on how to be a good community organizer? Any specific kind of, like lessons for if anyone listening to the show wants to do that as a job?
Yeah, well, what I would say is, first, you have to listen to the people you say that you're representing, right? Because you can't represent folks if you don't really know what their needs are across the board. Then you also have to know how things work, how to navigate a system, how government works, so that one, it's not a burn down city hall approach. And that was one of the things, in Broadmoor. It wasn't, hell, we were all upset. Yeah, you want a green dot over Broadmoor? It's like, hey, but you can't go to City Hall with that burn down City Hall approach and then expect a partnership. So you have to make it easy for government to help, and that means knowing how to work and move through government, where the responsibilities really lie on a particular issue. Don't come and fight me as mayor about a minimum wage when it's not on me. Now I'm going to fight right with you, but we have to go to the state for that. So it's really understanding the roles of the executive branch, the legislative branch, the judicial branch, to therefore activate and push for what you're wanting to have done. But if you don't know that, then you can be just spending time and energy that's unnecessary, and it doesn't get you to where you want to go. I have people pick at my house about, minimum wage. I'm right there with you. Yes. Yeah, like I'm with you. And I've led it in terms of increasing it within government, but that's as far as I can go. Crime and public safety. Yes. NOPD is the front door to that. But after NOPD arrests, it goes to the DA, the criminal court, the clerk of, there's a system. So in order to make it work for you, you got to know. So education.
So I was going to ask you this, and this is, I think, a very interesting thing to talk about when you're in this position of leadership in local government. New Orleans, and I want to get your perspective on this, but New Orleans, relative to some other places, might have its own unique set of problems. And you have a very specific role as mayor. And some of those problems you may not be able to address directly. So how do you view your role in helping solve some of those issues? And if you could talk about some of the issues that are specific to New Orleans and how you view your role in helping to solve those issues.
Sure. So I don't believe that many of the issues that we face are only in the city of New Orleans. I think that they're unique in the city of New Orleans based on the history, Jim Crow South, the rule of this city, from French to Spanish, back and forth, to the purchase of Louisiana. All of that has had an impact on this city specifically. Public education, which was intertwined with all of that, who's in charge, and Jim Crow South and all these things. Free people of color in this city. Slaves that were able to keep their drums like no other place in the country where they were, but here they could. But all of that has had an impact. And even the majority African-American city in the state, and how systems have been structured based on that, our taxing structure, for example, having to lead a charge about, fair share. Can the city get a little bit more of what she generates off of hospitality and retain that, because the majority goes to the state? Many of these things have been by design, which has made New Orleans unique in some instances, right? Especially a destination city that doesn't make all of her money that she should off of her city. I mean, like, those things are unique. So when you ask me that question, those are the things that I think about that has contributed to the economic disparities that are in this city. And that is a majority African-American city, majority destination, making millions annually, but not getting to herself, but going to the state, even in the billions, actually. But we have to have social and economic mobility in this city. And from that perspective, it is unique, because this city is majority small businesses. Over 50% of them are minority owned, but they make up 2% of the receipts. So when I think about unique New Orleans, I think about what has held it back or held her people back, but what the opportunities are to move all of our folks forward. So that's, when I think about uniqueness, that's what comes to my mind in this city that's so special. And the culture, oh my goodness, which goes back to the social and economic mobility of our people. And so for so many years, we would use our people to market the city. but those resources not reinvested in the culture so that they're making revenue and a part of the economic advancement. So when I think about uniqueness as it relates to New Orleans, it really drives me to the social and economic disparity gaps that exist here.
Just to sort of follow up what you just said, which was beautifully said, where does your role lie in all of that, in that uniqueness? Where are you sort of, again, you can only do so much, but where are you advocating and what are you advocating for, whether it's with, local politicians or with the state government?
Sure. So where I can do my best good in this role is to ensure that a procurement process is fair, that the billions of infrastructure projects that we're putting on the street give access and equal access to minority contractors and women-owned, and where I can have an impact on their economic viability. Making sure that while we have a 30% DBE requirement that goes to minority businesses, that we not only focus on the 35%, but we drive things to where it's even above that. Where I can make a difference is all those who do business with the city, contractual basis, that they can provide mentorships and internships to our young people so that we can diversify this economy so that we can push them into other growth sectors so it's not heavily concentrated on hospitality. At the same time, what I can do in terms of development and even tied to this infrastructure, technology, play to our strengths, STEM, NASA's in our backyard. Here soon, we're going to see here recently, NASA's putting, I believe it's this week, as our road to Mars. Well, that's being built right here in New Orleans. So my role is to connect the dots, to break down silos, to create opportunities for true equity that's needed so that people can build wealth and transferable wealth and stay in this city. When I think about the population, you asked me about Katrina. And pre-Katrina, the city was 67% African-American. 15 years later, we're 59%. Now, I'm all for diversity. I'm all for everybody and love and all of that. But New Orleans is so unique that we cannot allow her to be gentrified and disrupt the culture that has meant so much to this country and to this world. So it's unique with having to have that type of intentionality so that we do not lose ground and so that the communities and the neighborhoods and the people of this city and the culture can continue to thrive and live on for generations.
So this is, JJ and I were talking about this right before you got on. So with these industries coming in, so take the film or television industry, for example, who shoots so many different things set in New Orleans or whatever. Are you surprised at all at before you sort of got the job at how much of your role is kind of juggling, almost being like a business development person to a certain extent, but then also juggling protecting the brand of the city and protecting the people of the city with these businesses that want to use the city for various reasons, and they're just the give and take that sort of goes into that connection?
Well, one, it's a balance, and I love the film industry, and I think that New Orleans being the fourth in the country, like that's huge. New York, LA, Atlanta, New Orleans, huge. That is going to be and play a major role in the economic recovery of this city. So playing to our strength, all for it. Lots of content is being, created during this period. But did I know? Well, when I was a city councilwoman in District B, which, I went from Broadmoor, which is the, microcosm of the city. I served a district that's the microcosm of the city demographically, social, economically, land use and the like. So now being mayor, I'm not so much surprised. I'm in it. And I feel the burdens of that and the sacrifices that come with it to make the best decisions so that we can bounce back stronger, not only our film industry, but our culture and our community. So it's exciting. I love being the mayor of the city. I love it all. I love my job, even, with the challenges. But we have to face the challenges in order to fix them. And these are not new challenges in our city. It just takes a new tone of leadership to get things done. And I believe that we're working towards it.
Mayor, we've talked about your family background, some of your background in New Orleans, your background in Broadmoor, but the decision in 2012 to actually get into politics, that's not a decision that one makes lightly.
No, right.
So, I mean, you're taking on a different beast when you get into politics. And so what was that motivation? What was that decision like to get into your political career?
It was really rooted in community. What we were able to do in Broadmoor was, again, we led in this city and we were recognized globally for post-disaster recovery. When a seat became available on the city council, we didn't know it. It was impromptu. It was something that opened up. And my community encouraged me to run. And they knew I wouldn't leave them behind. And so I stood on that, and the work. And I said, yes, I want to take on this next challenge, because the community that I served in the district that I was aspiring to serve, they were so similar. And look, I had the political machine against me. Everybody, I mean, I did. The mayor, the sheriff, the DA, I mean, you name it. Hey, oh, yeah, a woman that wasn't from here either, but shit, it got here 06. I'm like, hell, I've been here since 90, And then I've done some work. Like, I really like hell, And so the machine wasn't with me, but the people were. And they made all the difference. That's how I made it over. I made it through faith in folks, And then the same thing when I ran for mayor. It was a long shot, no outsider. Oh, she's straight out of Compton. Oh, where's she been? It's like, oh my God. But the people felt that they saw something in me and they gave me a shot and they put their trust in me. And I take it very serious,
Well, I mean, you clearly did the work. I mean, you mentioned, you used the phrase boots on the ground earlier, and you clearly had boots on the ground, going back 19 years from when you bought your house in Broadmoor. I wonder if you could provide some piece of advice for a lot of people, specifically my generation, Tommy's generation, who have been really, I think, touched and moved and motivated over the last 4 years, over the last year, by everything that's happening in our country. And I think for a lot of us that believe in certain values and want to help, we don't know where to start. We can say things or we can give things, but in terms of doing things, we don't know where to start. What would your advice be to someone who is motivated to give back to their community in that way?
Well, what I will say, and please excuse me to say, if you're motivated, then you just have to do it. I think trying to find and somebody, I just say bullshit on that. Because I drive around the city and I see all kind of need, even trash everywhere, which pisses me off. But the little things matter. So what I would say, you start small. You start little things that immediately sends not only a message, it sends a message because people see the difference. And it's infectious. But you just have to do it and realize that you will bring people along with you. And even if that's not your goal, like I'm not trying to, but no, you can't do it by yourself and you shouldn't do it by yourself. That's the thing. You shouldn't be doing it by yourself. You shouldn't be dying on a hill by yourself. People should be with you. And so I would say whatever you're passionate about, and in this city, I mean, you can find whatever it is. I believe you can pick your passion. And it's just a matter of doing it, something small. But if you need any help on that, let me know. But I just said trash. It just drives me insane. Oh my God.
I'm going to get a few of my teammates together. We're just going to go around picking up trash. We'll do that. I can do that.
My people now, like when I get out of the car, wherever I go, I have trash bags in the back, and I can't stand it. And it makes no sense. Some people drive around, they open the door, but that's like, what the hell is that? But so that's what but it's infectious. And it doesn't cost you anything. But what I would say, if you really want to get involved and you really want to do, it's not hard, but you have to do something. And it's almost like you have to make a decision. And no one can make that decision for you, but you got to do it. Because I can be, I can't make a decision. I can't, shit, I got to do something. So it's like, damn if you do, damn if you don't. And I always tell my people what I'm going to do. So I'm always going to be on the side of damn if I do.
That kind of leads me to one of our last questions here, but your view on service. I'm wondering if that view has evolved at all during your lifetime. In all the different roles you've had, has that view of what service is and the importance of service, has that changed or evolved at all?
You know what? It hasn't changed. It was there as a child. It was there as a community leader. It was there as a council member. It's right here as mayor. It's a part of who you are. That's what I believe. And it's not being in a position that turns the light on, because you have so many that are in the position that really don't do much. But if it's in you, regardless if you're elected or not. And it's going to shine through no matter where you are. So my thing and challenge, what I focus on is not letting my light go out. Because as you lead and as you move through, you're met with so much adversity. People are rude. People are disrespectful. People come at you like you have no feelings, no family, no heart, like you're nobody. So my challenge is to ensure that I know who I am so I can keep my light going. Because if I didn't, my light would have been blown out long time. No, it's true. If I'm depending on someone else to keep my light going, man, it will be gone. Trust me, especially after this weekend.
The funny thing is I can relate to everything you're saying. I really can. The difference is, I don't know how to say this without coming off a certain way, but the difference is, people can view me and I lose some level of humanity because I'm a professional athlete and because I get paid a salary that most people don't get to see in their lifetime. And I understand that. And there's a responsibility because of that to behave in a certain way, whatever. In your case, or in any really public servant's case, you lose some form of humanity because of how the backlash comes at you. But there's no financial reward. So what the reward for you, I know you said like, I've got, you have a spirit of service. You have a servant's heart. That's obvious, right? But what is the reward? Because there has to be a reward for you.
Well, the reward is getting that school started and back in Broadmoor post Katrina, where kids are being educated and doing well now. Like it evolved. That evolves. The creating the first library and community center in the city of New Orleans, where folks are going to get resources and being connected. It's working on affordable housing where those families who need it, in some cases living like they're in a third world country, and you're able to make that change. So the small things add up to big things, but you see the light in your work. But each one of those pieces that are meaningful, but you have to see it, and it's like your DNA is in there. Like, hell, that's your time. Like, that's your sacrifice. That's time away from your children. That's time away from your family. It's real. So, you can't just treat me like it doesn't matter, because it does matter. But you have to know that, and you have to see, and you'll see it. And that's what's so good about New Orleans too. You know, the people of this city, no matter how small, they love you, you know, and they see the impact you have on them. And they're not looking, they love you for who you are, you know, and you love them right back for who they are. And that's what the beauty is all about.
So, Mayor, this gets back a little bit to I know we're going to wrap up in a second. This gets back to the organizing question a little bit for our listener. You know, and it's a big caveat, but just saying health and safety, COVID aside, if someone is listening to the show or watching the show on YouTube and they want to get involved in New Orleans or honestly anywhere in the country, what's your advice to them? Because one of the things I worry about, and JJ and I talk about this a little bit, is with this interconnected world where everybody is online all the time, you know, sometimes they think they're doing good by doing stuff on social media or doing things on other platforms. And in reality, it's not actually helping anybody, and it's creating a vortex of negativity or whatever it may be. Versus when we hear about your background, you know, take being the mayor out of it. You've been helping people your entire life, like actually helping people in your community your entire life. So if you're a younger person, you know, who's listening to this and wants to do something, what's the small thing that they can do in their actual community that actually makes somebody's day better or somebody's business better, just helps them in any real way?
Oh, well, it's so many things they can do, but it really has to speak to the passion, you know, what makes that fire burn, you know, within them. And so it's intimate, but it can be, I mean, for me, it was, you know, the blighted house that was on my block, or the slumlord that, you know, didn't fix his property right, but he has families living in there, you know, that pisses me off. Or drug trafficking in my neighborhood. You know, I'm going to get to the bottom of that. Or, you know, my neighbor, Miss Dale, you know, she's wheelchair bound and her grass needs cutting. I need to make sure. Or I know Miss Dale, before she got bound to that wheelchair, she loved her garden. So let me go plant a little garden over there. You know, it's what really matters, like what keeps you fired up. And you can find whatever that is where you live and around you. And I would say connect yourself to that. And I would say definitely not on social media. The physical matters, like the boots on the ground, it matters. And that connectivity in that way, that physical connection, is something that we need to get back to. Because the false, you know, the narratives come out in the virtual experience. Although I'm feeling you all right now.
We're trying. I actually, what you just said, like, it's so eloquently put. Service is intimate. I love that. I just wrote that down. I'm using that again. I'm stealing it. I'm going to give you credit, but I'm going to use that again in my life. I promise you. Before we let you go, I'm going to lay out a little hypothetical here, but in this hypothetical, you've only got one last meal in New Orleans. Where are you going for that last meal?
Oh my God. Well, and may she rest in peace, Miss Leah Chase. But you know, I can always feel the comfort of her heart and her spirit through her daughter, Stella. So I think I would be over at Dookie Chase and have Miss Stella and Duke, you know, prepare me something good. And that's where I'll be, Dookie Chase.
Love it. Love it. Mayor, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all you do for New Orleans and all you've done. We appreciate it.
No, thank you, JJ. And let me tell you, man, my communications director is from UNC.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no.
And we love you.
Thank you.
I'm amazed this happened. I'm amazed this happened with a comms director from UNC.
Now it makes sense why this was such a problem.
Not again.
All right.